Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, whatever it is. It's good afternoon now. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. As always, I'm your host, Tony DeMakis, with Alliance Specialties and Alliance Laser Sales, where we are mold makers that don't build molds. And it sounds ridiculous every time I say that, but that's the reality. So we get to do all the things that mold makers and molders don't have time to do: polishing, laser welding, laser engraving, hot runner repair, preventative mold maintenance, all here in our Wakanda facility. And then in our Prairie Grove facility, we build and sell laser welding and laser engraving equipment, all here in the United States for all kinds of purposes, whether that's production welding, whether that is job shop welding, whether that's part marking, whatever it is that you're looking for, we can help you out with that need when it comes to laser welding and laser engraving. That's where we get to be the experts, and it's so much fun. This last week, we were out at IMTS showcasing all of our equipment, everything from our ID1s that everybody has known about to our new engravers, the Alliance Advantage and the Alliance Spark. It's a cute little desktop model. It's basically again, all made in the U.S. That's really, really important to us. And if you're looking for something, if you're in the market for some sort of laser welding or laser engraving equipment, at Alliance, we believe that God's children are not for sale, but obviously our equipment is. And so every machine that we sell, a portion of those proceeds are going to go to the Tim Tebow Foundation to end human trafficking. It's really exciting for us that we've sold a number of these machines this year. And so we get to continue to make donations and support Tim Tebow and everything he's doing to put an end to this horrible, horrible thing that is happening in our world. So if you're looking for equipment and you think, why Alliance versus somebody else? The answer is that we care. We want to give back. It's part of our mission. It's part of who we are. This past week at IMTS, we had the opportunity to build bikes for kids in partnering with Guardian Bikes. We were able to build 35 bikes that are all going to go to kids in need, to bring them hope, to bring them joy, to make them smile. We gave a number of them to an organization called ICI Chicago. We're going to have more bikes going to a church called the Brooks. And then we're also going to be supporting some local families in and around the Alliance area, whether that's in Crystal Lake or Wakanda, whatever that looks like. So we want to continue to give back. We're going to keep coming up with these opportunities and things that we can do. And so if you're interested and you want a machine, you want equipment, let us know how we can help you. One of those other ways that we are trying to give back is with our golf outing. We have our golf outing this Friday. So, man, it's been crazy with IMTS and now the golf outing right around the corner. All of the profits from this year's outing are going to go to our friends at iWarriors. iWarriors is an organization that gives iPads to combat wounded veterans. It may not seem like a big thing. Why does a veteran need an iPad? Well, they need an iPad because it helps them with PTSD. It helps them to know that they're not forgotten, that we're remembering who they are and the sacrifices that they made. There are special apps on the iPads that allow them to work through PTSD and other sorts of emotional traumas. And so it's just a thing that we love to do. And so right now, golf is filled. But if you would love to give just because you're a generous person and you're listening to this and you think, man, I have way too much money and not enough good things to do with it, well, you're in luck. We're still looking for sponsors, and we would love for you to be a part of that. So you can go to alliancelasersales.com/golf2024, and you can still make a donation. We can still get your name out on the course in the form of a sign out on the course. And really, you can make a difference. And really, we're hoping that's what your focus is. As we're going through this show, we hope that you like it. We hope that you enjoy it. If you do me a favor and subscribe. We have a new YouTube channel that we are trying to grow. It is the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. You can still find us on Alliance Laser Sales, Alliance Specialties and Laser Sales YouTube channel. You can watch this on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever that might be. But wherever you're watching, please subscribe, like it, get the notifications, all those good things that you hear over and over again. We're not trying to make any money from this, but we do want to make sure that you don't miss anything that we're trying to do. Especially because Justine Ewald from the TMA and I have this crazy series coming out calling Make Manufacturing Fun Again, where we are going to businesses in and around the Illinois area, see who they are, what they do, why they do what they do, how they do what they do, and then we are going to be put to the challenge to see if we would be good employees, and more importantly, which one would be the better employee. Not everything is a competition, but this definitely is. And listen, I want to win. And so if you're interested in any of those things, be part of the show in some way. Whether that is being part of the Make Manufacturing Fun Again or being part of the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. We'd love to tell your stories. Last but not least, before we bring in our guest, this is a live show, which means that when it's terrible, I'm not going to edit it later. It just is what it is. It's a live show, and it's live for a reason. It's live because we want you, when you're listening, to be able to have conversations with us. To be able to hear something and go, man, I wish I could ask a question about that. I wish there was a follow-up. I wish I could know more about X, Y, and Z, right? And so now you can. So all you have to do is write a comment on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're watching this, and we will get it. We will ask your question, and you can be part of the conversation. If you just want to sit there and listen, that's great too, but don't cheat yourself out of the opportunity to get some free marketing. Tell us that you're there. Tell us that you're listening. And we're going to give you a shout out just for being part of our friend. Just for being friends with us for this little bit. Okay, so I'm excited because I don't really get an opportunity to talk to many chemists. I don't think I've ever talked to any chemists. Well, I've talked to a chemistry teacher, Mr. Seiler. My son actually says that he invented chemistry. I don't think that's true because he's not that old, but he is an amazing man and I love him greatly. But that is really the only chemist that I talk to in my life. But today we get to talk to a chemist who was nominated for, I think, the top 40 under 40. And she's got all kinds of different things going for her. And I think it's going to be a great conversation. This is the first time that we're ever talking. So hopefully she listened to one of these podcasts in the past and she knows what she's getting herself into. So Amanda, are you ready for what this is going to be?
I think so. Yes, I do believe I am.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Are you serious?
Hold on. Where is the audio? This just worked a second ago, right?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So right now Amanda's having some audio issues. It came in a little while ago, and then
Can you hear me?
we went in the green room and it disappeared. Let's see if I make you move.
Yes.
Now does it work?
I don't know.
Yeah. Can you hear you?
No.
No, you can't hear you either. Okay.
Try this. Can you hear me?
I'm confident we're going to get there.
Can you hear me?
You want to try and log out and log back in?
Sure, I will try that. Yes.
No? No, you can't hear you either.
Try this. Can you hear me?
Well, I heard that. Go ahead, say it again. All right. Everybody, we're going to go on hold for 1 second. Oh, wait, she disappeared. So, this is the joy of a live show. There are a few of you watching right now, and I'm saying, stay with us. We're going to get this worked out. We're going to get this figured out. Let's see. All right. Amanda, are you there now?
I am, but can you hear me?
You are there. Hold on.
What is going on?
Man, that's nice. That's the wrong thing. Hold on 1 second. We're going to do a quick commercial break. Hold on.
Okay,
let's see. Go ahead.
can you hear me now?
We fixed it.
Yes, okay.
Oh, man.
Say, what? I didn't change anything. Okay.
No, you didn't change anything. So when we were out at IMTS, I took some of our sound equipment with me. And when I did, I didn't set it back up properly. And then I got stuck in a meeting today and then was rushing over here. So give me 1 more second.
Okay.
All right, you didn't realize today that you were working with a real professional, did you?
No, it's been quite a day already, so I'm excited for this, and I have to get to the airport after.
Oh yeah, what time is your flight?
It's later. It's probably, I think I board around 6, and I'm
Okay.
Eastern, so that's about 3 hours. But I have a phone call, so I need to like get in and get settled so I can take a call.
Okay, where are you off to?
I am flying into Atlanta, and then I'm driving down to Alabama
For fun or for work?
for work.
For work. Good.
Yes.
Well, I mean, hopefully you'll have some fun while you are doing all those other things.
It's always fun.
That's the goal, right? I mean, if you can't have fun,
Yes.
what's the point?
Yes. I love my clients, so I'm going to a prospect tomorrow, and then after that, I'm going to one of our clients, and so I always have a good time reconnecting with people.
Good. So why don't we tell everybody who your clients are? What is it that you do?
Okay. So, I'll start with what Chemical Methods is. We've been around since the 70s. Started as just a chemical company, and probably about 30 years ago realized there was a gap. When all the Kaizen, Lean, Six Sigma stuff got really big, there was a gap in the pretreatment process for really metal finishing, but also plastics and anything that's painted. And so we developed data collection and monitoring and automation equipment and shifted our focus to continuous improvement in these processes. And now what we sell is a physical chemical product. And with that, all of our clients get our data collection, automation, and really my team to assist with their data-driven decision making. So we're in there trying to identify any areas of waste or opportunities for improvement in their processes. And then so I've been with the company for about 13 years.
Okay.
I have an interesting career path with the business. So I started when I was in college. I do have a degree in chemistry, but while I was still in school and working in the lab, pretty quickly realized I like people and I like talking, and there's not a whole lot of that in the lab.
No?
So I moved, yes, no, not so much. So I moved into some service. My first exposure was ArcelorMittal, so a huge steel mill. We go in twice a week. So that was quite a thing to see, that be my first experience in a plant at all. But we go in twice a week. So I started doing one of those visits. And then from there moved into sales and, kind of some of the universe working together, Kismet stuff brought me to where I am now. Some conversations I had with our CEO, and probably for about 4 years, I've been on the path to my current role of president.
That's a lot. And so you've experienced every part of your company, really, right?
Yes.
You came in, exploring one side, and then you realize, it's not really me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do what I want to do. Or I want to do what fits me.
Yes. Yeah, I think I just realized, and back then when I was hired, for sure, I wasn't saying I want to be the president of this company someday. That was not even on my radar. But as I grew, and I don't even think when I asked at that time what career trajectory looked like, it wasn't even really on my radar at that point. But there was a need. I didn't know that my boss was looking to sell the sister company that he had. And so everything just really worked out. There was a lot of luck and good timing. But I really love it. My team's been with us for decades in most cases. So we're really close knit. Everybody's still there that was there when I started. So it's really been a great experience so far.
That's awesome. So what was the biggest difference for you going from previous positions into becoming the president of the company?
I would say probably for me, the biggest transition was the realization of how much I have to be responsible for now, and how much of the work is really thinking and understanding what's going on and getting the pulse of the business. And it's been challenging to relinquish some of the control over like clients that maybe I have a really good relationship with, and I don't want someone to, mess up.
Right.
So that's been a learning curve.
And I can totally understand that. I think it's a very rewarding position, but it's also different. It's stressful in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's clearly not digging ditches, right? I mean, that's not the hard part of it, but the people part, as much as you love people, it's a very complex thing to try to make everybody happy and make good decisions and benefit the business and grow the different things while keeping everything in mind. It's exhausting.
Yes. Yeah, I would say I probably work realistically 7 days a week in some capacity. I'm always thinking about the business. And yeah, people are interesting, both clients and employees. People are just interesting.
Yeah. And not that interesting is bad or good. They're just different. All people are different.
Everyone is unique.
Yeah. And I think for me, what becomes difficult in that realization is understanding when, you hear everybody has to be treated the same way. It's really difficult to do that.
Yes.
Because some people don't want to be treated that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Chemical Methods is probably unique in that we do have a high level of individuality. Obviously everybody's held to the same standards.
Yeah.
To benefit the business and the customers, but everyone has different wants, needs, and goals. And so we are a very tight-knit team, and I think we're pretty in tune to those things and have open and honest conversations frequently.
That's good. I mean, that's really all you can do, right? Is continue to have those conversations and connections with your team. Scott Peters is joining us. I don't know if you know Scott Peters. Scott Peters is a good old timer, a good friend of ours. He said, "Did you find it hard to let go and let your team do their jobs?"
I wouldn't say necessarily had a hard time with that. Not with my team that's been with me for an extended period of time. Because we all work so well together, we all kind of wear a lot of hats. Most of our customers knew each of us.
Sure.
And so there wasn't like a big, hey, I'm passing you off to this person. And honestly, I took my time kind of doing that and was almost training my clients as we go to, hey, you should talk to so-and-so about that. I think I have a high level of trust with all of my employees. So I feel comfortable for the most part. The exception is when we bring someone new on and, you're just getting to know someone. So there is a little bit of fear, I guess, that comes along with letting go and letting someone now own an account. And you want to make sure they're going to treat the people as well as you do.
Yeah, of course. And I think that comes from your team learning from the leadership above what that actually looks like to be serving the people below you in a good capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do this, Scott? A follow-up question from Scott. Scott should just do the whole interview. As the president, how do you let your team know that they're doing a good job and what that looks like?
So I think, again, it's individual based on the person. We almost have like love languages, but it's like work languages.
Okay.
So I try to,
good.
I try to like lean into that with everyone. Some people really want the verbal accolades and they want to know that they're doing so great and kind of parade them around the office and, wow, did you see what they did? Or send out an email to the whole team. Other people are more financially motivated. So when I can give bonuses here and there, based on maybe somebody's turned an account around that was troublesome or whatever, if there's a way that I can lean into that, then I will. Some people are more happy to be rewarded with like flexibility in their schedules. So having some time off or flexibility maybe to come in a little bit later if they've had a lot of travel or maybe they just like, maybe sleeping in is how they treat themselves. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I really try to lean into each individual's wants and needs. And the size of our team, I can do that. Obviously, as we grow, that's probably going to become less possible and I'll have to tweak and figure out what works.
What is the size of your team now?
We have 7 full-time employees, and then
Okay.
I have a remote employee at one of my clients. So he's not really remote, but he's at full-time at a client.
Yep.
And then I have a few people who are part-time remote.
Okay.
And then we have a blending facility. So it's hard to put an exact number on it.
No, I get it. I get it. Do you ever find that it's hard? I love what you said about knowing what individual people are looking for and then rewarding them accordingly. I think that's great. Do you ever find that you know those things, right? You know how each of those staff members and team members want to be rewarded and complimented, but not everybody else of that team gets that. And so,
Sure.
What I've seen in the past, maybe somebody says, "Well, that person never gets recognition, or that person never, whatever, fill in the blank."
Yeah.
Now you know that they don't want it, but you can't really say, "Well, listen, they don't want the recognition. I'm not going to do that for them."
Yeah.
I'm giving them more money, and then the other person goes, "Well, wait a minute, more money was an option."
Yeah. Yeah, I think. So my team is pretty vocal, and I think it's obvious what each of us is driven by at this point. Now, again, that'll change as we grow, and whoever comes on next. But we're all close and we're all together a lot, and I think it's pretty clear what each of us needs. And honestly, my whole team is great at leaning into those love languages. I keep saying that's not really love language, but leaning into that desire for whoever the person is.
Sure.
But I do think my whole team, even if someone's not motivated by the accolades, we still would send out an email or have a meeting, during a meeting, maybe to make an announcement. We have quarterly meetings. So during that, I might, single someone out and say how great they did it, a very specific account.
Sure.
But I haven't really encountered too much of people saying they got something I didn't get.
Listen,
I'm lucky so far.
My prayer for you is that it doesn't happen. That's always fun when that comes into fruition.
Yeah, don't wish that into my
No. I'm wishing the opposite. I hope that you continue to have these people that tell you exactly what is rewarding to them, and then you can meet those demands. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it means that they must feel safe with you to be able to share those thoughts and have those conversations.
Sure. Yeah, I do think we make a safe space, both myself and the CEO make a safe space where we're not going to fire anybody for just having a very real and raw conversation and just sharing what their thoughts are, or whether it's emotions or interpersonal stuff, anything that's going on. I think they understand that they can do that without it being a detrimental conversation to their career.
I hope so. But it's hard to build that trust.
Mm-hmm.
We have people, and it takes a long time for people to feel comfortable walking in and telling you what's going on in their lives or what they need. Sure. Or they don't want to come across as unable to do their jobs or whatever that might look like. And who knows, if I call it beaten dog syndrome? Who knows what they've gone through in the past where they've had negative responses to trying to share their thoughts and opinions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just my personality, I'm probably almost too nice sometimes. I'm pretty open and easy. And so for me, the being easy, and I'm an oversharer. They know pretty much everything going on in my life. So there really are no secrets, right? Like, you're not going to get embarrassed because I'll probably tell you everything anyways. And so for me, it's really more, the flip side is more difficult for me when there is a tough conversation that has to be had. I don't love confrontation, but I'm learning to lean into it. And I'm definitely seeing the benefits of having those conversations, but they are not my favorite.
So what have you learned about the difficult conversations? When you say you're learning,
what have I learned about difficult conversations?
Yeah, what have you learned that's helped you to get better at that? Because I think it's an area that a lot of us struggle.
Sure. Yeah. Well, so the first step that I took, I had a coach a couple years ago who told me I needed to read Difficult Conversations, and so I did. There's an actual book. So I read that, and I think I dipped my toes into some of what they talked about at home, right, in my personal life. So some conversations with my husband that we needed to have that neither of us are very confrontational people. And so maybe we'd have an argument, but then we don't talk about what the core of the argument was.
Sure.
And so I started that way. I just went to my husband and I laid a few things out, and, like, this is just a conversation. It was not accusatory. It was not, it was more like the I feel type of statements.
Yes.
And telling him what I need, right? So, like, we have this issue. This is what I need. And in the last few years, because we are in such a growth mode, my career has changed and my travel has changed and what I'm able to do at home has changed. Some of not my focus has changed for my children or anything, but, you're just busier and you're kind of more preoccupied with things. And my husband is in a similar role. And so that was a little bit tough.
Sure.
And once I saw, like, we had those conversations, we had, our emotional moments, and both grew and changed our relationship dynamic so much from that, then I felt safe to bring that to work. And there were a few really difficult conversations that I had to have that had been going on for like years, that I just was like, I don't feel confident in addressing these situations. And once I did address those situations, things changed so much. And I grew much more confidence in my role and really in leadership in general.
Yeah.
And so I think once I got a little taste of that, then, I'm feeling more confident to just run towards the difficult conversation and get it out of the way.
Yeah, I love that. Did you find, because this is what I find in my life, is that the conversation in my brain is way worse than the conversation in reality.
Yes, 100%. And I don't know if everybody's like this, but I'm the type of person that I have like a physical response, like a feeling to walking into one of those conversations. So I'll feel a little bit nervous and I'm like, what does my voice sound like as I'm starting this conversation? Can they tell I'm uncomfortable?
Sure.
But just do it anyways. And it never ends up that bad.
Right.
And one of the things that my boss actually taught me, which I'm like, why didn't anybody tell me this earlier, is to just talk less, especially in those conversations. Say what you need to say and then just listen and actively listen, right? And, take what they're saying back to you. You can reply when you need to, but really people sometimes just need to state their piece, right? And then they can move on too.
Yeah. No, I think that's great advice.
Yeah, I think, like, especially in my current role, that, letting go of being right, I guess. We can have those conversations and I don't have to have a response to, whatever, if someone doesn't agree with what we're discussing.
Sure. And I think that's a big part of it is just, most times both parties know that there's a difficult conversation that needs to be had.
Yes.
Neither one of them wants to be in that conversation. And so I think if you just like point out the elephant in the room, just, hey, we have to talk about this. Let's just talk about it. It's advice that I give both of my kids when they have things that they need to discuss with people.
Yes.
Your brain is way worse than the reality of what the conversation is going to be like. You are so much worse to yourself and you don't do the other person any justice either, because you play both roles in your head and it becomes this horrible thing of, they're going to say this and I'm going to say that, and I'm going to say this and then this is going to happen. And the reality is you just sit down and have a conversation as two human beings and it's not that bad.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, and I think too, I have a 15-year-old daughter, so she's definitely teaching me a lot. She is very assertive. So there's some difficult conversations there, and leaning into that and just keeping those open lines of communication. I'm so happy the way that my life has gone and like the growth that I've gone through the last few years for where I am right now.
Sure.
I think she would have run me over a couple years ago.
Your daughter would have?
Yes, she's amazing, but she is so assertive. So like she'll come to us like, hey, I'm gonna, go do this. And I look at her and I'm like, no, actually you're the kid. You have to ask if you can do that. And she's like, oh yeah, okay, it's a formality, in her eyes. Yeah.
I have an 18-year-old son who is off at Illinois Wesleyan now. Jack, he sent you the different stuff. And then my daughter Grace is a sophomore in high school. And
okay.
Those are conversations that we're continuously having. Like, it's not your intention, right? But it's the way that you're communicating what you're looking for.
Yes.
Exactly what you said, right? Like you're the child. Like, I'm responsible for you. So if you'd like to do something, don't tell me you're doing it. You're probably going to be able to go anyways. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
But it's just nice to hear, hey, can I blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Like, is it okay? Whatever. It's not even really a permission thing. It's just like, let me know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe you're doing something that I would say no to, and that's why you're telling me what you're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there's a lot of times, I try to take what I learned as a parent or even as a leader at work and apply them in both areas. Like there's overlap in all of it. Not that I think that my children are employees or our employees and teammates are children, but there is overlap on how you manage people and what that looks like. For me, I'm somebody that I don't like to micromanage life. I like to allow people to do their jobs and then let them do their job.
Sure.
And I want to be there as a resource. Like, do you need help? What can I give you? What are your hurdles? How can we problem solve this together? But for big important decisions, I say let's run this through together and figure out what that's going to look like instead of just, hey, we bought all this stuff. Because that's a challenge also.
Yes. Yes, teenagers are interesting. Another interesting breed.
So it's just 15-year-old daughter?
I also have a 7-year-old son. We have a big age gap. Yes.
All right.
So I'm in elementary school and high school.
Ooh.
We're in two worlds, but they're fun. They absolutely adore each other. They're about 8.5 years apart, and she wanted a sibling. She asked since she could start speaking, and so she, he's like her little baby doll, and basically he has two moms.
Okay, well that's not the worst thing.
Yeah, no, they still fight like normal siblings, but they do really. I don't know what he's going to do when she goes to college in a few years.
Yeah,
it's going to be so sad.
Yeah, Jack and Grace are really close. We had a rule with them growing up that if he made her cry, then I made him cry because he knew that you're her older brother. Your only job is to protect her and keep her safe. And you're stronger than her. You're bigger than her. You can't hurt your sister. You need to just protect her. And I can't remember a time that they've ever really, really. And so when he went to school, it was a tough transition for the whole family. But that's what you want. That's what you hope for as a parent is to help build your kids up to a place where they can go out into the world and lead other people and other things and be a good example for what humanity should be doing. And if they do that, that's great, and we all win.
Yes, I agree.
So I want to jump back. How did you get into wanting to work on finishing of parts?
I don't think I really chose that. I think it chose me. So when I was in school, I was getting my degree in chemistry. And I knew, I didn't really know exactly what I was going to do with that degree. I think at one point I thought about pharmaceutical sales. My mom is she's an electrical engineer, but she was in sales. And I'd kind of been told for many years, oh, that's where the money is, go into pharmaceutical sales. If you have a background in any kind of science. So I don't know, maybe that's what I'll do. And I just found the posting on Indeed. I kind of knew I was at a point in my educational career that I knew I needed to get something on my resume that was related to science. So I was the lucky one that got chosen from a group interview.
Okay.
And then I really enjoyed it. I like my team. At that time, we were combined with our sister company, so we were all in the same building. There were a lot more people in the facility. That's just what we do. So I just
find it's interesting, right? Because I think so many times people need to try and figure out the exact job that they want to do, and it paralyzes them. Because maybe I won't like metal finishing, or finishing of parts, or the chemistry of that. But it's not necessarily the job itself. It's the company, the people, the way that you get to use your skills that you've developed and been given over time to do a better job of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know back then even what I thought I would be doing, but it's not what I'm doing today. I was maybe this is a stepping stone. I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, so we do have a lot of chemical companies and just chemistry related things happening here in industry. There's PPG, there's Sherwin-Williams. There's a handful of similar chemical companies to us as well. I think L'Oreal is in Cleveland. So there's a lot of stuff, like a lot of different spaces that you could be in. But yeah, I was kind of told that I needed to pick a STEM education.
Sure.
And then, like you'll figure it out from there because there's so many places you can go. So I know this is where I ended up. And I'm happy.
Here you are.
Yes, it all worked out.
Super happy, getting recognition, being, awards and all the fun things.
Yes. Yeah, I'm loving it.
It's good. I want to touch on some of I'm not a technical person, it's not my skill set. I really related to what you said about people and the sales side and marketing and having conversations about why I do this, and I don't get into all the nitty gritty and the details. But for the people that are watching, when you talk about the importance of surface when it comes to finishing, what does that look like?
I'm sorry, I missed the end of that.
What does it look like to you? What is the importance of the surface prep when it comes to what you guys are doing in the finishing process?
Yeah, surface prep is the number one priority. And for some reason, our industry does not understand that, or they haven't accepted it. So I'm actually really excited to start moving into, more speaking engagements and things like that, where I can explain this to people. Because so many times I walk into a plant and they're spending triple or quadruple the amount of money on paint. And so that's where they focus, right? It's just on the actual finish. And they have no idea that if they haven't prepped the part going into the finishing department or into paint, it doesn't matter if it's $1 million a year that they're spending on paint, or if it's, top of the line, your paint can still fall off. You can have rust under the paint. You can have solids under the paint. And they just don't understand that. And then also the staff I find in these facilities, the operators who, like a washer technician,
Yep.
They really don't know why they're doing what they're doing, right? They're told you have to titrate a few times a day, but they don't understand the impact of not doing that correctly or skipping it altogether. And nobody has the data. So that's where we come in. So that, the chemistry you have to have, right? But the control is the most important piece of that. And that's what Chemical Methods provides to our clients, is a probe in every critical stage that's telling them the concentration or the pH or temperature, automatically metering in chemical, whether it's for concentration or things like pH adjusters, and then collecting data so they can go back when they do have a rash of rust, or maybe a handful of customers call and say, my paint's falling off or there's something wrong with their part. And they can see what were the conditions leading up to paint, and is there something that we need to address internally? And they can even catch those things in real time. So our data, we can send out alarms to our clients. They could be audible, visual, they could be text message, email. So if they get one that's really critical to their process, like say their cleaner stage temperature is at 80 and it's supposed to be 120, they need to get back there quickly and figure out what's going on.
Sure.
And so I think what we do plays a really big role in creating high quality parts. And it's not just the chemicals, it's taking it that next step.
We actually had an issue. We build our laser welding and grading machine, and we had a batch of bases for our ID1 that were being powder coated, and they would not hold paint. Like, it wasn't being baked in properly. Whatever it was, like, you could just use your fingernail and scrape the paint right off the plate. And
Yeah.
I think we must have gone back and forth 6 times with them, trying different things, having it sandblasted off, having it disked off, trying a new batch of paint, trying all these different processes to see what was going to work. And I think what we realized in the end was it was a different steel than we had used in the past. And it may have been heat treated, so it wasn't going to bake on properly to the material. We had no idea. The manufacturer that we outsourced to had leftover steel from something else, and they used it. Which, how would anybody know that that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
Had I known you, we would have said, hey, can you find out what's going on with this?
Yeah. I mean, so we get a lot of that from our clients. We've got some who have like a near automotive finish quality. And so they're not sending parts out if they're not perfect.
Yeah.
And so when they do have any kind of issue, they will take a sample, or maybe they're sending us like a whole big part, and we'll look at it under a microscope. We'll do a paint pool. We'll look for rust. We're going to look at just generally what does the part look like under paint, or are there solids? Does it look oily? Is there laser scale? I can't tell you how many times the problem has been that the manufacturer just isn't aware that laser scale is just a thing sitting on the surface of their part. And if you paint over it, it's attached to scale, not the part. So if you hit it, all the paint falls off. It's come off with it. Laser scale, actually, you can usually like kind of scrape off. And so when their chemistry is not formulated to remove that, they're setting themselves up for failure, and they might not even have any idea.
Okay. So you're talking about when you've got a piece that needs to be painted. What is the process typically that you guys are helping walk people through?
Yeah, so typically, you're coming out of fabrication. They've got their welded part. It's going to come into a washer. Kind of a standard is like a 5-stage washer. So you would have the cleaner in stage 1, then you're going to go into a rinse, then you go into a conversion coat, which could be like a zirconium or a phosphate, iron phosphate. There's a bunch of them. And then typically you'd have another rinse, and sometimes that 5th stage is a final rinse, which might be RO. That's going to be the cleanest stage in your process. And each one of those individually is so impactful on the quality that you get at the end. The cleaner, there's very specific things that need to be maintained in there, like temperature and impingement are going to be the top 2 aspects of that stage. Temperature, because my analogy is always you cook bacon and you're cleaning the pan. If you can put a whole bottle of Dawn in there, but if you're cleaning it in cold water, what happens? You just get a blob of grease in the pan.
Yes.
Same thing's going to happen to your parts. A lot of the soils on these parts need heat in order to flow off of the part.
Okay.
And then the rinses are hyper important, especially if, say, someone's doing like a zirconium, which is more temperamental than phosphates are with carrion. So if you're doing like an alkaline cleaner and then you have a rinse, you're not maintaining your rinse. Maybe you get a lot of carryover into that stage, or the pH is really high from the cleaner, and you bring that into your conversion stage. Now you've kind of rendered that nearly ineffective. The pH of your conversion is the most important aspect. So when people don't understand that, or they're not monitoring it, they can be creating rust in their own environment and not have any idea. They can actually create rust if they're too high or too low. So it's really important to stay within range. And then that next rinse is important, but that final rinse is, again, super important because it's the last thing that's going to touch their parts before they get painted. So any oils or solid particulate that's in there can be picked up and put back onto the part, and then you're putting it through a low temp oven and painting it.
Right.
So you might be putting oil back on your part. You might have a bunch of dirt or debris under, and you're going to see that under your paint.
Do you find that people have no idea that this is happening?
Comically, I have talked to a couple of plant managers who I would expect to understand paint pretreatment, who are like, oh, wow, I had no idea that was so important. Like, we just thought it was part of the process, but we didn't really understand its impact on our finish. We thought paint was more important.
Right.
So you're not spending as much on pretreatment, but you're going to lose way more money if you're not adequately maintaining it.
Yeah. Do you think that more people need to understand the why behind their processes wherever they're working?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. That's something we lean into in a big way. So one of my career things was authoring a washer technician manual. So we go into our clients and we take it upon ourselves to train the people who are going to touch our equipment or pretreatment in general.
Sure.
I find that those people, sometimes I think they're just thrown back there, or because it's seen as like just a necessity and maybe not super important. it's a painter who's titrating, or it's, maintenance, or somebody who has 18 other jobs. And this is just kind of a nuisance that they have to do. And maybe they skip it. And they were never taught the why. So when we come in and we empower them with that information and we build a relationship with this person who maybe is invisible to other vendors, we really get so much out of that. And so do our clients.
Yeah, I found that across the board at work that you can tell somebody the way that you want them to do it, and it's kind of in one ear out the other at times, depending on who the person is, right? But if you can sit down with somebody and explain why you want them to do it the way that you're talking about, there are some aha moments, and allow people to ask questions like, "What's the difference? What's the difference if we do it this way or that?" And explain why each step has to happen the way that it's supposed to happen.
Yes.
I think it makes a huge difference to people.
I find for them to understand the impact on their life is also very, very impactful and illuminating. They're like, if this is not done well, guess who's spending time sandblasting all these parts? Like, guess who's getting in trouble because the paint fell off? Nobody wants that.
No, zero people want that. Like, I can tell you with the company that we used for the powder coating, like, nobody was happy in that situation across the board with what was happening, and nobody really could figure out what that was. We went from powder coating to enamel coating painting. We kept trying to change different things.
Sure.
And again, I think that's why it would be important for us to know, why is it happening? Okay, is it a different material that we were used to? But we didn't even know what to have quoted in the first place. So, that's not fair to anybody. It's again another example of, I always told my kids, I told Jack and Grace that I will never tell you because I said so. That's the thing my father did. I think it's the worst answer ever. I hate because I said so.
That was my mom's go-to. Sorry if you see that, Mom. I love you.
Listen, I love my dad. I don't function that way. I want to understand why, and it's not just so you don't get in trouble. That's not a good enough why.
Yeah.
There's no learning without the why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes people have to just live and learn too, myself included.
Yeah.
Right. It's like your parents teaching you anything. You might listen the first time, but chances are you're going to just try it.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of learning in that too. But I think even in that circumstances, you have the opportunity to take a step back and say, hey, why did this go forward? What do I need to learn out of this situation to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Yes. And
I think that's, a big part of what you're talking about with the impact of process on the bottom line of your business.
Yes. Yeah. I really want manufacturers, my clients, prospects, people who aren't even associated with us, to make data-based decisions in their entire manufacturing process, but especially, when it comes down to why maybe they're having quality issues. And instead of, we get a lot of, finger pointing all over the place, and it's paint, it's chemistry, it's this, it's that. That doesn't help anybody.
No,
we don't play that game. I'm never playing a paint company without evidence.
Yeah.
Unless I know for sure something's wrong in that department, I'm not doing that. I want to get to the bottom of it. And sure, I'll take your parts and test something that has nothing to do with us, but it's affecting your quality.
Mm-hmm. So how do you get people to get on board with the data-based decisions? I mean, everybody wants to collect more data.
Yes.
There is software upon software and just so many different ways to make data and store data.
Yes.
How do you encourage people to actually use the data in a positive way, in a real way, to impact positive change?
Yeah. So we do it for them.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Provide them with the information. Yeah. So we collect all this data that I'm talking about from all of their operating parameters. And then we have our own database that, like I said, we've been doing this for 25, 30 years now. Sure. We're on version 4.0 of we call it CMI 4.0. So we're on the next iteration. We're about to roll that out of our essentially data processing software. So the information comes from boxes in the field at every client, comes through there. And then we get every Monday an automated or automatically generated report that shows us the conditions of customer ABC's entire process. And then a human sits down, looks through that data and adds notes to it, and we email it out to our clients. I'll be honest, probably 50% of them spend 2 seconds looking at it. And so we then also take ownership of when I need to harass you and get you to tell me what's going on, or I need you to go walk in the washer and see, why did you use 80 gallons of cleaner last week when you normally use 20? Go stand it, open the door, please, and see if you're shooting chemical into another stage, or if you're overflowing, or if 100 different things. And I think we don't get burnout from that because so often we identify an issue, and it's just really rewarding to know that you had a part in that. And then when we come in every 6 months, we take the information that we're sharing every week and we compile it into a 1 year or a 6 month review. And at that point, we're sitting down with plant managers, with operations leaders, with mid-level, with sometimes operators even, or quality and purchasing. And we're looking through their data in that bigger chunk, and we're showing like purchasing information from 3 or 4 years ago. And we're looking at, what does the statistical analysis show us for your concentration in your cleaner stage over the last 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24 months? Is your control getting better or worse? What was going on? So we sit down and we have internal meetings, and we want to come prepared with an agenda where I'm saying, here, as a chemical methods representative, I think these 5 things are your pain points. And then here's how I think we need to address them. And you tell me, do you agree these are your pain points? If not, tell me what's going on, and let's find a resolution, and let's figure out how we can improve your process.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I mean, you're talking to people, you're collecting the data. Like that's the big thing. What I think too many people do is not have you. Like, where they have all this data, they collect it all, and they go, okay, great, now I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And having somebody help you, having somebody like you guys decipher what's actually going on and saying, okay, let's work together, put together a plan to improve your process, to improve yours, to help your bottom line. That's huge.
Yes. Yeah, so, and we all love it. We
all love it.
We all love it. Yeah, I love reviews. I love getting to sit with people and, look into their eyes and say, like, tell me if I'm on the right track or not. And if I'm not, correct it. And let's figure out what you guys need.
So that was going to be my question. After going through the data with people, you have the data, you've analyzed it, you've got a team of people look at it, you bring it to the customer. How often do you have people go, no, you're wrong?
Very rarely. So what I find is most people want to just show up to a meeting. So the more work that we do before the meeting, the better it's going to go. And, if I just show up to one of these review meetings and I haven't spent 30 minutes preparing and writing down what I think's going on, then I'm walking in and I'm like, hey, Tony, what's going on in your washer? Last Tuesday, why did you use so much chemical? Or like, what happened July 25th, 2022? And you're like, I don't know. You tell me. So if we can come in and have a story, even if the story is wrong, just to have some idea of what was going on, that, my employees and myself have looked through this data, maybe reached out to people before the meeting, and tried to identify just generally a story about what the data is telling us. We get such great feedback, and people are so much more engaged. Like you almost have to start the thinking for people, and then then they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then they want to come up with other issues that are going on, or other new ideas that they would like to implement, but maybe they don't have the manpower or they don't have the knowledge to do that.
Yeah. I think it's a reality. And again, it's having those trusted relationships where you can bring something to the table, and then talk through it all the way from the beginning, the difficult conversation. Right? You have a problem in your process. Nobody likes that.
Yes.
I think whenever somebody would hire someone like you or somebody that's going to do consulting to help them get better, in the back of their brain, they know it's not going to happen, but they're thinking, this is the time they're not going to be able to find anything wrong with what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're perfect. And so for you to come in and say, okay, we found it. Like, what do you think of this, this, and this? Could that be causing your problem?
Mm-hmm.
It's great to be able to have a trusted relationship with somebody where you can have those conversations.
Yes.
And know that they want to help you find success.
Yes. I have to laugh at this Thomas's crime scene investigation because actually, before I started working at CMI, I almost forgot about this. One of the things that I thought about doing was to be a forensic technician.
Really?
Like, in the lab. Yeah. Like growing up, we watched a lot of crime shows and I was so into it. And I really wanted to do that until I watched, I think it was like on Netflix, a decade ago when Michael Jordan's father passed away, the basketball player. He died.
You don't have to explain Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time from Chicago. I don't care, you might like LeBron, but you're wrong.
Yeah. But his dad passed, it must have been like some kind of nefarious thing that happened, but it wasn't investigated in that way. But he was like discovered outside in like a creek or something crazy.
Sure.
And he was on the border of two counties. One had like a county coroner who's just an elected official. The other, I can't think of what happens if it's not an elected official, but he went towards the elected official, and it was a small town it was just, no offense to farmers, but it was a farmer who was the county coroner.
Okay.
And that person gets to decide murder or accident, but this place had like no refrigeration. They didn't have all of the laboratories and everything they needed in order to investigate this well. And at the time, they didn't even know he was this famous person's dad.
Sure.
So no one knows what happened. And like hearing about that, I was like, oh, well, I live in a county where that is it's just an elected official. They don't have to have any background whatsoever in crime, in science, in medical, like nothing at all. They just
That's kind of terrifying, isn't it?
It is. I was like, oh, I don't want to work for that. Because what if you put in all this work and then they're like, somebody paid me off, so we're going to say this was an accident. I would be so upset.
That's really terrifying. That's the state of where we live in certain areas where somebody is either guilty of murder or not because a farmer or somebody that's never been a chemist is making chemistry type decisions.
Yep. I don't even know, like basically I think the people in the lab present their case and then that person has the final say. Just crazy. They're not even doing autopsies or anything. They're just the one that gets to sign off.
I don't think.
It's wild.
Nobody's asking me, but I don't agree with that.
I don't love it. No, I don't love it.
I think it's silly. I don't like it. I think we should, I think you and I should come up with something totally better and put it into place. And everybody should just listen to us because that's the way that works.
Yeah, because what the heck are we doing? No wonder there's so much corruption.
Oh my gosh. That's a whole different conversation.
You
said you didn't want to talk politics. But
no politics. No, this is a very specific, just crime scene investigation.
Okay, all right. Yes, there is a lot of corruption in that also, I'm sure. Yes. I'm sure. So there's a big effort right now in sustainability. What does that look like for you guys in your process with your customers and with your company?
Yeah, I think we lean into sustainability in a big way. And one of the things that we've been able to do in quite a few facilities is assist them with backflow for the rinses, right? So to take like your stage 2 rinse and put it back into the cleaner for refilling the tank level in that stage. And, they're not only saving water and they're saving on wastewater treatment, they're also using essentially pre-charged water because no matter what, they're going to get some level of carry out. So it should also help with reduction in chemistry usage. And you can do the same thing with your final rinse to your second final rinse, and then also putting like that stage 4 into stage 3. And all of those things, super impactful. Outside of that, our data has identified on multiple occasions, kind of another piece of like people don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of times, especially in like gas heated systems, Joe comes in at 4 o'clock in the morning and his job is to get the washer ready to run parts, but the first part doesn't run until 6:30 or 7. Well, Joe comes in, he turns on the heat and he wants it to heat up fast and maybe it's 20 degrees out. So he's going to kick that thing up to 200 degrees. And he doesn't understand that it doesn't impact the speed at which the heat gets or the stage gets up to temperature. But he could be creating hotspots and he's for sure using a heck of a lot more gas than he needs.
Sure.
In the same breath, he's also heating the stage for probably an hour and 45 minutes longer than he needs to because the part doesn't run for 2 hours. And in most cases, it takes 15 minutes to get to temperature.
Yeah.
So we've identified that in quite a few places, and they can do the same thing in the afternoon, where we can watch your temperature fall over time. So maybe you can turn off your heat and continue production for another hour, hour and a half.
Because the temperature is already, it's at temperature. It's not going to fall so quickly that you need to keep it running.
Yep.
Because by the time you shut it off, now everybody's going to go home, and that's going to stay up to temperature for another 2 hours when you could have not spent that.
Yes.
I hope people are listening and they call you because it seems like if I had to treat surfaces for all this stuff, I would definitely.
You're like, oh my God, I never thought of it.
All this. Yeah.
Yes, it's very illuminating. And then, not so much sustainability, but the data helps people in a lot of other ways too. Like I guess this could be sustainability. We've found on a holiday weekend, the mill near us, we got an alarm on like a Saturday morning that they were using a ton of water. And what ended up being the case was somebody had left for the holiday weekend and they left just a water valve open and they were just pouring tens or hundreds of gallons of water continuously, and it would have cost them thousands of dollars if this had gone on. They work 365 days a year, but the person who's in that area probably was not coming back until the next Monday or Tuesday.
Sure.
And so that was like they were like, holy crap, I gotta get down and turn that off, or like let me call someone. So we see things like that frequently. People could be just overflowing rinses at too high a rate, that they're kind of hammered in. You got to keep this really clean, and maybe they're just overkilling it, and that's again not sustainable and just wasteful in general.
So what sorts of finishes are you guys specializing in right now? Is it just is it paint, is it chrome, is it nickel? What does that look like? Who are the people that could benefit from that?
Sure. So we can work with anyone who is doing some kind of coating on a substrate. Okay. We work in anodizing. We work, obviously I've stated, we work with steel mills. So they're doing like a hot dip galv, but it's a cleaning before any of those processes.
Sure.
Painting, like we have toolbox manufacturers. We've worked with car manufacturers. We've worked with furniture manufacturers, job shops, really anything you can think of that needs to be painted. And then also we work with a lot of fastener manufacturers. In that case, the parts are not being painted, but they need to be cleaned. Sometimes they need to remove a phosphate coating from their parts, and then they need to have an RP applied. And that RP needs to last anywhere from a couple weeks to 6 months. And that's kind of where we come in. We provide the chemistry for all of those, and again, the monitoring and control.
Yeah. I'm just thinking we have a number of friends of ours, industry friends, they're chrome platers or nickel platers.
Sure.
Those are people that would benefit from having your technology and your expertise?
Yes. The nickel plating is a little bit different just because I'm assuming you're referring to anodizers. Typically, the baths are a harsher environment, so it's a little bit more difficult for us to monitor and control just because the probes don't last as long in those situations. But where we come in really handy for those types of people is in wastewater, right? They're a lot of times using very blacklisted materials, and they have to be very cautious with their wastewater system. And so we can put this same monitoring and controls on wastewater. And then they know exactly what's going on. In some cases, even clients who aren't doing that type of process will use us for wastewater or for even just as finite as monitoring the outgoing waste flow from a washer, because they're qualified as a manufacturer. And so their city is just saying, well, every drop of water that leaves your facility, we're going to call it processed water. And it's not. And so they're able to save so much money by us putting a flow meter on just what's coming from the washer itself, and then can report that back to the city or the district.
Well, I got a few people in mind that you should talk to.
For sure.
I'll do both. I'll talk to you about them, and I'll reach out to them.
Yeah, I would love that.
I just think that maybe their process is perfect and they won't need to, but I think everybody has an opportunity to get some sort of growth and benefit from partnering with different people. If it's not, maybe it's just a meeting and some basic ideas that maybe nobody ever thought of.
Yeah, of course. I love it.
So I love this question by Thomas because it's a thing that everybody's trying to figure out right now. What do you see as the outlook for the rest of 2024 and 25? Do you feel like your customers' production schedules are increasing? Are they decreasing? Are people freaking out about
such a hard question?
The unknown?
Yeah, I really think it varies by the product that they're producing.
Okay.
I do see the steel mills seem to be a little bit slower than what we would normally expect. Like for the last, I would say maybe even 3 years, much more planned and I guess it wouldn't be really unplanned, but much more planned downtime. Where in the beginning of my career, the steel mills run 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, with no, like if it's not a planned downtime, then something bad's happened and they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour.
Right.
And now they're like up and down so much. Some of that, I'm sure, I don't want to go down any political things, but where the steel is coming from, where their ingots are coming from, some of that stuff's coming from overseas. Some of it is made in the US. And all of that impacts their production schedule. And then also, like a lot of the steel mills, they're manufacturing coils that are going to turn into everything that we buy.
Yeah.
And so we kind of get an inside look, I guess, maybe a year before what's going to happen, because we could see. So if they've slowed down, it means that their customers aren't buying as much, which means like the car manufacturers probably aren't making as many cars, or like they're selling to Whirlpool and Samsung and LG and GE and like all these other companies. And so I think like that's kind of what gets me thinking is, if there aren't, when I walk into a steel mill, I see a sticker on a coil that says where it's going and I recognize the name. When I walk in and there's no coils, I'm like, something's going on. Either they had an issue with the supply chain and maybe they couldn't make the coils, or nobody's buying them right now.
Yeah.
So I've seen some of that. And then some of the customers that I just would expect to not be doing as well are thriving. We work with several toolbox manufacturers, and I don't know who's buying the expensive toolboxes right now, but people are. I haven't really seen a lot of slowdown there. The fasteners are going like crazy. And then we do work with a company who produces some ammunition, both government and for like personal use.
Sure.
And then they also make a lot of other stuff. But that's interesting too. When they get really busy, like around COVID, they were super, super busy. And so that was interesting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They're just kind of normal right now. Like production is how we expect it. So I don't really have any guesses as to what's happening. But it really just varies. I think like job shops are probably a little bit slower, but many customers are doing fine.
That's great.
So they've got too. They're finding.
What was that? What was the last thing you said?
Oh, that they've gotten creative. A lot of the job shops, so they're just taking on new and different types of work.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think this is the time of season. It's election time. We're not going to talk about all the details of it, but it puts panic in people every 4 years. What is the next administration going to do? Are they going to speed things up? Are they going to be better for manufacturing or worse for manufacturing? Are there going to be more tariffs? Are they going to be this? Are they going to, you can spend so much time. It's like a bad conversation. Right? You can spend so much time trying to work all those things out in your brain when you really have no idea what it's going to be anyway.
Yeah.
I heard a guy once say, "I refuse to participate in a recession," and I just love it. Like
I
I,
do. I love it too.
we just need to keep doing what we need to do and moving the ship forward. Right, kick the ball forward. Just keep going. Like you
Yeah.
can't worry about all the doom and gloom or potential whatever it is that's around us, and run your business that way. So if there's certain, like you said, there's certain customers that are slowed down for whatever reason. Okay, well, there's other customers. Find them. There's,
Yeah.
there's other things that are going to be made. Not everything is going to stop. So find the thing that still needs to be made, and then go make that. Like you said,
Yeah.
fasteners or they're shifting into other industries.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think chemical methods almost thrives in these conditions because we are different than the norm, and what we bring to the table is helping with cost savings and understanding what's going on in their process. And we are really so much a part of people's teams. Um, and I don't know, it did, like, to your point, I think people almost just get so scared and they're like, well, nobody wants to buy anything from me right now, so they're not even going to try.
Right.
And I'm like, well, they're and everybody else, not everybody else, but a lot of our competitors, I think, are still resting on the COVID padding with pricing, right? Like you were able to you could charge whatever you wanted for everything. We've actually come down in price on many of our products. And anytime that that's possible, I want to do that for my clients. Obviously, we have to be profitable in order to exist, but I don't want to overcharge people just for the heck of it. I want everyone to be profitable. Like their bottom line is my bottom line, because I'm going to be successful if you're successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And more than that, you want to be referred to other people.
Yes.
We worked with a company. We had an air compressor go down, and they came out. They were. I'm not going to name them as much as I would like to. I'm not going to. But they came out a number of times, and then they told us that the part itself was like $500. And we looked it up, and it was a $50 part that we were able to buy off of Amazon. Now, if they would have said it's $500 to get the part to come out, to put it in, to do this, that, and the other thing, fine. But we were able to find the exact part, same part number, everything, for $50. At some point, it's a little ridiculous. And once people find that out, they're never going to use it, and they're never going to say anything positive about you. So there's no, to your point about, we want to make money, but we don't want to rip anybody off. We want to partner with our customers and help them find success, because that's successful to us. If more people would just do business like that, we'd be so much better off.
I know. I always find myself, like, I find people in my personal life, businesses, maybe a plumber or something that I need, when they operate the way that we do, I'm probably a customer for life. Like I had a gentleman come out from a local plumbing company. Our toilet was leaking. He came out and he's like, ma'am, I don't think your toilet's leaking. I think there was just like water on your floor. I'm like, oh, that's embarrassing. But he was like, if you want me to take the toilet off, I'll do it. Yeah. But I'm going to have to charge you for the labor. And like, I don't think there's a problem there. And I was just so impressed with him. It's not like he was trying to rush. He was like, I'll do it right now if you want me to. There's no problem with that. But he was so honest. I'm going to call them every time there's something going on in my house, because of that honesty and integrity. And that's how we operate. And so that's who I want to do business with.
Now, this is my house. The plumber might have just said, I think your son missed.
Yeah, well, he did ask if there were any boys in the house. I was like, yeah, but they got it.
I didn't want to throw your family on the bus. Under the bus. I'll throw my family under the bus, because I've seen that at my house. But
yes,
but
usually can low.
That's so admirable, though, as a company, right? And that's somebody that you're gonna tell that story in a positive way. So the next time somebody needs a plumber, you're gonna tell them.
Like hire these people. Yeah.
Yeah. Thomas, I agree with him. He says slowdowns are a great time to work on maintenance, training, and continuous improvement activities that might have been set aside during busier times. 100% true.
Yes, I completely agree. And then stick to it.
Yeah.
Figure it out, but then keep doing it. Yeah. Preventative maintenance is also a huge conversation with my clients and just the industry in general, right? Nobody wants to do it. It always is the last thing that gets done, but it has such a big impact.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing with continuous improvement is so many people get stuck. It's my other least favorite phrase ever. It's the way we've always done it. So many people get stuck in that. And you'll hear all this stuff. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's the way we've always done it. It always works. Whoa. Why do you want to change things? And I think I think it's good to review processes all the time and see where you need to make improvements.
Yes.
Lately, we've been going through with our teams and saying, okay, this is our process for this. This is our process for that. We are all in agreement. We're going to sign this document. This becomes our Bible. This is how we're going to do everything. This is our truth, right? This is what it is. Now, unlike the actual Bible, this one may change from time to time. And when that happens, we're all going to be on the same page with why it's changing, what came up, right? We don't know all the ins and outs in the future of what's going to be. So if we're working through our process and a new project comes up and we go, okay, what we were doing is not currently working. We need to make an adjustment. It allows us to make an adjustment in an educated way because we already have a process. We know what didn't work. We know what did work. And now we can just insert this into the whatever step it needs to be. And then everybody's engaged and we move forward again with our new way to do it.
Yes, I love that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I probably have like 5 minutes before I should get myself to the airport.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up. We're gonna do something fun real quick. We're gonna do 5 questions. We will go fast with 5 questions. Okay. I appreciate you letting me know. All right. What is your favorite line of any movie?
Oh man.
Yeah, these are the hard ones.
Like what do I say a lot? I have to think about it. My favorite line. Okay, this is like funny, but I'll say it to my kids sometimes, and not in a mean way. But from Mean Girls, the one girl says, "Why are you so obsessed with me?" So when my kids are just being like obnoxious or like they're in the bathroom with me or something, occasionally I'll give them that one. Sometimes I give that to my husband too, and it's just funny. And I'm like, I don't mean it.
No, I like it. I think one of my favorite lines is in Fight Club when he says, "Putting feathers in your butt doesn't make you a chicken."
I like that one too. And that is applicable in many life situations.
That's why I love it. I mean, it's so real. People think they're a thing just because they did a thing, but you got to actually put forth the effort. I skipped one. Okay. Question 2. What's the weirdest gift you've ever received?
Oh, I don't feel like I've gotten any weird gifts. I don't know. I honestly can't think of anything weird that anyone's ever given me.
You need to have my brother as your friend.
Yes.
For Christmas.
I'm trying to think,
go ahead.
I'm trying to think like my family used to do white elephants, but they're pretty like buttoned up generally. So I don't think it was that weird. I do. One of my cousins got like lingerie or something in that, and it was an 18-year-old male, so that was comical, but it wasn't.
Did he put it on?
No.
Okay.
No, and that would not have gone well at this family. Like for reference, my grandma's 96, my grandpa's 95. So this was probably like 10 years ago, but that would.
Okay. My brother lives in the country right now. Him and his wife gave everybody, it's a bone inside of a raccoon penis.
Oh,
and
okay.
Everybody got like a raccoon penis bone for Christmas. And we were like, why?
I don't think I want one of those.
No. I didn't want one either. I didn't ask for it.
Yeah. Like, no, thank you.
All right. Can you fold a fitted sheet all by yourself?
I can. And you know why?
No.
When I was in high school, I worked at a massage therapy studio and I was the receptionist. Okay. And part of my job was laundry. So I would go out while people were in their massages and I had to fold those stinking fitted sheets. And there was a woman there who taught me how to do it the right way. And so I can do it.
My wife can do it. I consider it witchcraft.
It's not easy, but I can do it.
Yeah. Question number 4. If you could have any animal as a sidekick, what would it be and why?
So I'm going to say moose, and that's because I feel like I'm like recently just really interested in moose because I saw one in real life in the wild a couple of months ago. And yeah, and like, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. We don't have moose here. So it was one of those animals that, like, it is real, but until you see it in real life, you're like, oh my God, it's not real. So I saw one. We were like in the mountains on the West Coast and he was huge. It was definitely a male moose. He was huge and it was just so cool. And I was like, I want to pet that.
They are.
So, yeah.
Have you ever seen those videos where the moose gets hit by a car? And it like goes flying through the air and it just like gets up and keeps walking. They are amazingly huge animals.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm so interested. And actually my boss spends time in Utah, and so there's tons of moose there. And he sent me a video the other day where he was probably like 500 feet from two moose like crossing the road, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so jealous. Like, I wouldn't be that close, but safely.
Yeah,
obviously.
they are amazingly large animals.
Very interesting.
They
don't seem like they belong in this time period. Like they just are. I don't know.
There are so many animals like that. Like a giraffe. Have you ever been up close and personal with a giraffe?
Yeah, they're very interesting. Also, with their long tongues.
We went to a pumpkin patch with my son when he was little, and there was a giraffe there. I don't know how they got a giraffe there, but there was a giraffe there, and we feed the giraffe. And I took a picture of the giraffe's head, and it was the same size as we were. Just the head of the giraffe. It's just way up in the air. You never realize that a giraffe's head is the size of a human being.
Yeah, they're huge.
Kind of terrifying.
And just like, how do they exist? Yes, I agree with that one.
All right, last question, and then we'll wrap this up. When you go into the bathroom, should the toilet paper go from the front or from the back?
I have never cared about this, and this is upsetting to my children, but we remodeled our bathroom like 3 or 4 months ago, and I still haven't bought a toilet paper holder. So it goes right here on the sink, and you can pull it any direction you want.
Okay. All right. Well, equal opportunity for you. That's good.
Yes.
That's good. But it's never bothered you. You go into the bathroom. No. I guess you're just happy.
I've always seen that, and I've been like, why do people care? Because I probably put it on a different way every time.
Oh, I see.
I don't think my husband cares either because he's never said anything. I don't think he's like flipped it around.
I think it's supposed to go from the front. I think it's easier to grab if it comes over the front.
I've never had an opinion.
That's pretty impressive. One day I'd like to find out the other things you don't have an opinion on. Because most people have a very strong opinion about the subject.
No, yeah, I do. And another, I guess, weird fun fact about me is I am not a coffee drinker, and I don't rely on any forms of caffeine at all.
Okay.
I just sleep an appropriate amount every night.
So
I just sleep an appropriate number of hours every night.
What is the appropriate amount of hours?
Like at least 8. I like to get 8 hours. If I'm under that, I'm okay, but that's my sweet spot.
All right, I'm lucky with 6. That's my.
I would not be functional.
Yeah. All right. We end every show with a prayer. Do you have any prayer requests?
I don't know. I have very old grandparents, so maybe some protection for them.
Okay. All right, I'm going to pray real quick, and then I will let you go because you have to get your parent. And we'll go from there. All right, Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this opportunity to talk with Amanda. Thank you for what could be an awesome new friendship. I just pray that you would watch over everybody that's watching and listening, and our parents and grandparents and children and friends, and that they would feel safe in your arms. I just pray that you would, as we go into this political season, that you would allow us to be respectful of each other and realize that we're going to have differences, but in the end, we're still made in your image, and we need to reflect. And so, as we leave today, I just say thank you. Thank you for today, for all the opportunities that you give me, and it's in your name we pray. Amen. Amanda, thank you so much. I know you didn't know me from anything. You decided to come on the podcast. I hope you had a little bit of fun. I'm sorry it was a hot mess in the beginning, but we got it worked out. If anybody wants to get a hold of you to talk with you further and to utilize your the things that you do for the community and for your industry, how can they get a hold of you?
So you can either reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can reach out to solutions@chemicalmethods.com. I would give my work email, but then I will get inundated with all kinds of things I don't want.
So that's really nice of you to say about this show, assuming that people are actually listening to it. So thank you for that.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sure I don't want all the we can do your taxes and whatever. I get the most random emails. But so definitely solutions@chemicalmethods.com. Chemical Methods is all spelled out.
Perfect. Well, you get yourself to the airport. Thank you for jumping on with us for a little while, for having some fun, for your conversations. And I hope we can stay connected and chat again soon.
Of course. Yeah. Are you going to surfing? Well, maybe not. You're probably not in that industry.
Do I do what?
Not surfing. What's coming up? Fab Tech. Do you go to Fab Tech?
We have gone to FabTech in the past. We're not going to go to FabTech this year. The next thing that I'm going to is the Plastic Association Conference in Houston.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with that at all. But
I
will.
think it may have come up on my radar recently.
All right. Well, listen, if you have nothing else to do and you want to go to Houston, it's next month. Sounds like it'd be a good time.
Yeah, I got to check it out. All right. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Travel safe, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye. Well, that was Amanda Walden. It was awesome to have her on the show. It's amazing the people that you can meet and the relationships that you can build in LinkedIn. We reached out to her. She said that she would love to be on the show. She was part of the show. I hope that you guys found the conversation interesting, fun. Hopefully you learned something. And if you are dealing with anything that needs a coding, please reach out to Amanda. It sounds like her team does an amazing job. I can't speak from experience, but just conversation, I would trust her. And I think I have a pretty good judge of character. So, what do we have coming up? We have Rich Thiel next week on Wednesday, and then my friend Richard Evans will be joining us the following week after that. We have the Alliance Golf Outing on Friday. If you would like to be part of that, there's still time. AllianceLaserSales.com/golf 2024 is the address to be able to do that. On behalf of myself and Alliance and Amanda Walden, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care, and God bless.